Hello and welcome to the Jeff and Jamie feed, where we talk about all things food and beverage from a variety of different angles. And today we are bringing on one of Charlotte's most popular chefs, and he just goes about things differently.
He crushes it, though. He is moving our scene forward and doing an awesome job. And he is friends with so many farmers and does an awesome job with seasonality and just killing it. And I think we're being a little hard on him, though, because he's in the middle of opening a restaurant. And he's still
well, he did open it
enough
so,
to come in and hang out with us.
You're right.
For the morning.
That's a time. The first few weeks after opening a restaurant, it is quite challenging. But I think one of the things about the restaurant scene in Charlotte here is that I think we're all very, very aware that we all need each other. We need each other because if each one of us are helping to buy more from local farms, then more local farms survive and thrive. And then we have more options. And we need each other because if people see that the culinary scene is growing and thriving and exciting, then they're going to come to Charlotte and they're going to hit different spots.
We're trying to do big things here in Charlotte.
I think so too.
The whole culinary scene,
as we call it, the city of hospitality.
That's right. Charlotte, our city of hospitality.
That's right.
The city of hospitality.
Yes, and no better way to learn about, some of the dynamism of this city and our culinary scene than talking with one of the best chefs around.
Let's bring on Sam Diminich right now.
Chef Sam Diminich, thank you so much for joining us today.
Good morning. Happy to be here.
Yeah, we're so glad to have you. You have an incredible story, and we need to start. We don't have to start at the beginning necessarily like of birth, but we need to start maybe, rebirth.
Rebirth, sure.
Is that good?
Sure.
Because, your story is so inspiring, and love to know how you got into cooking, restaurant business, all that. Tell us, just give us a glimpse of how it all began for you.
Yeah. Well, the essence is I really have a choice. My grandfather was a chef. My dad was a chef. Yeah. And so whenever I was a kid, we had a couple restaurants, but we had the flagship restaurant, which was the Roma. And my grandfather opened that in 1956.
Where was that?
That was in
Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, Myrtle Beach, right.
Yeah. And so we were in a neighborhood called Pine Lakes. And so my grandfather, we all lived back in the neighborhood behind the restaurant. And so imagine just like going to school. I went to Catholic school growing up. I was always in the sports, so I'd go to baseball or basketball practice and then come home and then ride the bike to the restaurant, throw the bike down in the backyard and storm in the back door. And depending on what kind of mood my dad was in, I was either bussing tables or washing dishes and eventually cooking.
Yeah.
Which did you like better, the bussing tables or washing dishes?
Dishes.
I love that's my favorite station.
I'm still the best at it.
You're probably way better than I am. It's a nice, peaceful thing for like an hour.
I was a little guy, so I was like milk
too.
crate, standing on a milk crate, spraying them down. Yeah.
But you say you had no choice, but truly a lot of people who are in it are like, hell no, I'm not going that direction. I'm going elsewhere. But you decided to stay in it. And did you work there at those restaurants? And I know you went to culinary school as well.
Yeah. No, I'm so lucky. I just didn't feel very lucky at the time, I'm one of five. I have four siblings and I'm the only one in the industry. So, so I feel super lucky. And, as time goes on, you nurture that love. I've been able to nurture that love in a lot of different ways. And, I think of it almost as a relationship, like the relationship's super heavy. I love being able to take care of people, which is like one of the first things I ever learned. It wasn't really food it was like the act of service through my grandparents, my grandmother and my mom and dad and all my family were in it. And so anyway, so that's what I have the most appreciation for. It shows up a lot of different ways. It shows up in, obviously we have Grace now, so a hot cup of coffee and a smile, or at Restaurant Constance, with a properly sliced hamachi sashimi, or anywhere in our event spaces, especially the community supported meals.
Yeah, you guys do. You have such an interesting business model, and it's very different from ours. We are just, we've got 6 restaurants, and sometimes we talk about the idea of diversifying and so forth. But you do very different things within your company, and talk more about that.
I just want to jump on before you talk a little bit more of how I think for all of us, hospitality is the absolute foundation of what we do. And yes, we
taking care
serve.
of
Yes,
people.
we serve food, but hospitality is really at the core of it. And I think people don't realize that you slicing your hamachi perfectly so that it melts in my mouth when I eat it, and
It is
taking the
an
time to do
experience.
it, that is part of the hospitality. That I didn't get a chewy bite because you were blowing through it,
You took
trying
the
to
time to know how to do it
Right.
right.
that
Yeah,
you
yeah.
did it right. And I always say, we use the word fun a lot too. It's not fun to be sitting there and you have your steak and you don't have a steak knife.
That's right.
Like
That's right,
You're
yeah.
like, I can't cut this
Yeah.
with a spoon. But that's like all that hospitality is like a big part of it.
Yeah, definitely. Details matter. And it's so from the business model standpoint, I wish I could sit here and say, yeah, we had this great plan of how we were going to design your farm to your table, but everything really, it just kind of happened. And I think the foundation or the reason why is that, whenever I started this in my apartment in March of 20, I just wanted to take care of people. Like that was it. And we have a lot of farmer friends and people that I care about, we all care about. And I just couldn't imagine a world without them. And so that was really the gist of it, just got out of self and into service. And then there's a couple like non-negotiables, like empathy is one, which we define as just a conversation between two equals. And then humility is another one where it's not thinking less of yourself, just thinking of yourself less, right? And so anyway, so those are the guiding principles that we operate by. And, obviously my story includes recovery. In 2022, we got a call from McLeod, which began the community supported meals division of our company. Before that, we had Karen Falls, who called me in early COVID and needed somebody to come over and cook at her house. She loved upstream. She loved the sea bass at upstream, where I worked previously, and wanted to know if we would just come over and help get her daughter married. And so that was like, it was like, she was like, I don't know you don't know me, but I love that sea bass.
I
Can
know
you
you're
come?
sea bass.
Yeah. And we promised to stay in the backyard. And so anyway, so that was the dawn of the events division, and that's a huge part of what we do now. And
You just needed one event, and then you can just start your events division.
Yes, but sometimes that's all you need.
well, honestly, man, it's like social media gets such a bad rap sometimes, but that's the power of social media. That event was shared. And then after that, we had couples that wanted to celebrate anniversaries or birthdays or any of that stuff. And if we could just come over, we'll stay on the patio or vice versa. And so that's how it all began.
So at this moment, your farm's your table, which is the umbrella company, the mothership. You have Restaurant Constance,
Yes.
Gray's Diner,
Yes.
your events and catering, and then your community meals. Is that right?
We
Do I
have
that right?
two event divisions.
2 event divisions.
One is catering by Beaumont with our, we have a loving partnership with Kevin and Mary Sue Boyle,
Okay.
who own the Casey, the Ruth, and TCR. And so, they host 350 events a year, actually expanding this year. We have another property coming on board, maybe 400 events a year. So we have an entire team over there. Your farm's your table. Yeah, I spent the morning at Gray's from like 6 to 4 Saturday, and then 4 I left and picked up the food stuff that we needed for an event Saturday night for your farm's your table, and back at Gray's again 6 a.m. Sunday morning.
How's the opening going? We've been out of town, so we haven't gotten over there. But you've been open about
So
a
much
week and a half,
support.
2
So
weeks.
much support.
Few weeks,
Yeah.
Yeah, this is our 4th week, going into our fourth week.
Okay.
Yeah, just so proud of the team. It's hard. I mean, I don't have to tell you guys anything, man. I mean, it's hard. But there's one thing about, I think, this business and doing things that are hard, like doing things that haven't been done before, is like it'll open you wide open, and put you in this space where you're, you know what I mean? Like you have this idea of what it's going to look like, and then it just doesn't. It takes on a life of its own. And then you wind up with this situation where it's like, you have a choice to make. Do you want to continue on, dig in, dig deep, or make another choice? And myself and everybody on the team has chosen to dig deep and work really, really hard. And I'm really, really proud of everybody.
It's a pretty small space. Right?
It's tight.
So
Well,
square
the kitchen's
footage wise, well, I was going to say that's something, every single restaurant you're always dealing with, okay, the kitchen versus front of house. Obviously, the front of house is your revenue drivers. The back of house, you need it in order to supply the front of house. But how is the square footage there at Gray's?
Well, it's an old diner car. So we have 38 seats in there, and then we have 125 elsewhere. And it's an old diner car that sits on
What do
top
you
of
mean
an old service
elsewhere?
station.
What does that mean?
So they dropped the diner car And I love this.
Maddie's did.
Maddie's
Yes.
did, yeah,
Yeah.
on top of an old service station, like an old gas station. So just think like double bay doors, like all that. So that's our community space right there. And then we also have a patio. So we have a bar, we have a community space, and we have a patio.
Awesome.
And so when all that fills up, yeah, it's busy. And yeah, I mean, like we don't have a lot of space, but
How many square feet is your kitchen then back there?
it's like it feels like a shoebox.
I'm sure it does.
It's tight. It's like I tell people all the time, it's like trying to cook for 200 people at the same time out of an RV. And you know, but we have systems in place, and we're getting better and better every single day, every day.
So
Yeah.
my great grandfather
That's
in Stafford Springs, Connecticut. So in the turn of the century, 1920, had a diner car, restaurant. So working on the same thing, didn't have the extra seats, but
was it Lewis's Diner?
Yeah.
Is that what it was called
Yeah.
in Stafford Springs?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it's
so
pretty.
cool.
It's pretty crazy. But so, do you find like with your menu right now, are you having to adjust anything based
Always.
on here you've opened up, what's working, what's not working, what can we not fit making out of that kitchen?
Correct. Yep.
What are some examples?
Yeah. Well, I think that's a part of like listening to your restaurant, listening to the business that you own. I think it'll speak to you, in ways that are good, and some ways that present challenges. And one of the things we're doing right now, or I am always turn the knob, so to speak, and adjusting things, and anywhere we are. But right now, obviously, the focus is on grays, and so yeah, I mean, so we look at data, we look at flow, we look at obstacles to flow, all those things, and make adjustments.
There's always that thing that the kitchen staff thinks is the coolest menu item, and it's so cool and it's so hard to make, and you guys love it, and nobody's buying it.
Nobody buys it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's all right too, though.
No,
save it for another place or another day, right?
Right. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
grab potato. So how seasonal? I know you guys are super seasonal over at Restaurant Constance. That is such a beautiful menu, and it's a really unique experience. Are you over there? You don't offer any alcohol, right? Or do you have
Where?
at Restaurant Constance?
Oh yeah.
You do have
Yeah.
beer wine. Is it
Beer
beer
and
wine?
wine.
Beer and wine,
Yeah.
and then you have. But your menu is super seasonal.
Yeah.
We
I
usually
think that's
crush
so
the
beautiful.
NA cocktails over there when we go.
Yeah, that's right.
So
Yeah, 'cause,
NA
you do a good
cocktails
job
are so
with that
good.
too. But it's seasonality over at Grace. Are you taking that same approach over there?
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. Yeah, and but like the core items, like the onions, some of the beef, we get the bread, potatoes. Obviously, those will stay.
Yeah.
Those are staples, and so we have all kinds of options on how we want to source those locally.
Yeah. And you guys are you working with specific farms, or do you source from, I know we use Fresh List and basically work from there, getting, resources
Yeah.
from 200 some farms, whatever.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you seem to have certain ones that you work with specifically too.
Yeah, I love Fresh List, and what they've been able to they've opened the doors for a lot of operators like us to really reach farmers and farms that are just too small to come to Charlotte or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I mean, I have we get our beef from Shipley Beef
Yeah.
in Western North Carolina. Our bread comes from Duke's. Potatoes, onions, and a few other items come from Harmony Rich Farms in Tobaccoville. Isaac's a very good friend of mine, and I love that guy so much, man. And so happy to support him. Sausages are from North Carolina. Yeah, I mean, but we haven't really seen a need to use Fresh List quite yet, but I'm sure that we will. I mean, this is week 4, so I'm sure that we will. But I think the seasonality for grays will show up in, maybe some omelet ingredients, and of course our fruit. And when tomato season gets here, we'll just serve some
Like
sliced tomatoes
blueberry
on a plate.
pancakes right now.
Yeah.
He brought us some blueberries today.
Yep.
And blueberry pancakes sound pretty money right now.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Kings Drive Farmers Market supplied us with some, so we ran those as a special this weekend. Very popular, especially with the kiddos.
Yeah, for sure. So you've gone from one restaurant now to 2.
Yeah.
How is it feeling bandwidth wise for you to make that scale up? And you're with growing a team and all of that too.
Yeah. No, I feel like I'm built for this. I take very good care of myself, and I'm here
How
for
much
it.
sleep did you get last night?
I don't need a lot. Luckily, I don't know, man. I get that question all the time, and I credit my parents who really instilled like a very, I would say, intense work ethic in my siblings and I. And so what is normal to me might not be normal to most, but I'm here for, if I sign up for something and I make a commitment, I'm going to honor it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
That's my outlook.
Your choice to become sober and open restaurants, it's not a common thing in the restaurant business. It's something you and I share in common. But you've made that choice, but you've gone beyond it also. Like in your website, for instance, it says food is medicine. And I very much believe that too. I've seen how it has healed me. And I know you take that approach, but I find it really interesting that a restaurant would speak about that in that way, in a very open way. And you've gone so far as to help, I'll say, various organizations. Hopeway is one that you're helping with their recovery efforts using food.
Yes.
To help them.
Yeah.
What is the importance of nutrition there with that recovery?
Yeah. So McLeod and Hopeway are partners that are in like therapy spaces. McLeod is strictly substance abuse and alcoholism. And then Hopeway has a broad spectrum of therapies. They offer anything from grief, PTSD, eating disorders, which are, near and dear to my heart. And I've experienced that personally in my family, and lots of things. And so it can mean a lot of things. Like for me personally, like, my story's kind of out there, but I struggled with substance abuse for a long time, like many decades. And I found myself in treatment centers. And when I would find myself in treatment centers, one or two things would happen. When it was time to eat, and your schedule's controlled, so it was time to eat, And so there were many times I looked down at whatever it was I was eating, being served, and I could tell like somebody put their heart into it, and it meant something. And if you ever struggled with anything, specifically like alcoholism or substance abuse, and you're trying to change your life, it's one of the hardest things ever to do. But for that 20 minutes or 45 minutes, I could look down at something that I know somebody put their heart and soul into and know that I wasn't alone, and that's everything.
That's
what I mean?
special. Yeah,
it is. And so that's like, that's a bridge to healing. And so to be able to do that now and give back in a business that's been so good to me since the very, very beginning is everything. I say it all the time. Those are the most important meals that we serve as a restaurant group. Now, on the other side of that, I was in enough treatment centers or incarcerated, arrested, where I would look down and I know that whatever I was eating, there was no heart, no soul. It was just kind of checking a box. And so I experienced the contrast of what it would be like, what it's like. And so anyway, I'm armed with this information, and why shouldn't I use that in the most positive way possible? And so that's how we express ourselves.
But I love how your farm, your table, like is, you have the big farm component, you have all your relationships with the farmers, but then you go so much more in depth and take it a step further by offering those things, by working with those groups, and just being so thoughtful about how important food is to healing. And I love that extra depth and extra layer. It shows your seriousness.
And I feel like the public has really responded to it well. Like, do you feel?
Grateful.
Yes, I feel like people can really appreciate your approach to things. It's if nothing else, it's very mindful, it's very intentional, and you're truly making a difference.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and then so they're like, that's to be on a wheel of healing for somebody that's going through like probably the hardest thing they'll ever have to experience. I know it was for me. It's the hardest thing I've ever done is get sober. But it's so worth it. That's, to me, that literally fuels me as a human being and as somebody that practices sobriety. But also it's like we also live in a world where it's everything's so binary. It's either one side or the other, right? You know what I mean? Especially politically. And when I started this thing in 20 in my apartment, obviously politics, like we have to pay attention, and I try to stay as informed as possible. And I saw people headed in two different camps, and we still see this today. And that's such an incorrect way of operating. And so I think sitting with you guys, like I love everything about your restaurants and how you guys approach hospitality, but to be able to say, look, I don't know everything about everything that's going on in this world, but I put my heart and soul into these short ribs, and let's share a table. Like there's something to be said about that, right?
We can
agree
together
on something.
Right.
And then if we can agree on short ribs, well,
we agree.
I hope so. But if we can agree on that, then hopefully that opens the doors, to continually having conversations, about what we agree. I don't know, man, what our similarities rather than our differences, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And then relationships are built or rebuilt or repaired.
Well, and speaking of relationships, you have done, I know we're always trying to do this, but with your relationships with farms, I think is just awesome. And maybe it's just like the personal touch of getting to know people, and that's something that we're really trying to do with our chefs, and to be intentional with that. What do you find has worked best as far as creating those relationships and developing them?
Your relationships with the farmers is
it's what people aspire for. And so what do you find has worked really well?
Well, for a couple of things. So the industry that we operate in has always garnered the chefs, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's always been about the chef. The story's all about, this narrative's always about the chefs. And I just feel like the industry's had it backwards. Like, imagine that, like the industry's had it incorrect, and because chefs, I think great food can't be made without great ingredients. Mm-hmm. And so that's a really important acknowledgement. And I love being able to channel the energy of the people that supply us with the goods that we create with. And there's something to be said about that. And going back to 20, whenever North Carolina shut down and we had no place to go, I had no restaurant to go to. I had all this free time in my hand, and I didn't know what to do with it. Like I'm very, I have just every day I have kind of a system.
You got a pretty serious work ethic.
Yeah, and so anyway, so I'm left with all this, like, what I do with my hands, and so I had this idea, and in order, I think, to make this idea better, I wanted to get out in the fields with the farmers. And I've been working with farmers since I was a kid. My dad used to just buy local. And so anyway, so that's where kind of the seed was planted. But I've been in restaurants all my life. So farmers would always come to us. It was very rare that I would have an opportunity to go to a farm because of my work schedule. Well, anyway, 20 came around. And next thing you know, I found myself in markets and on farms. And which I have so many good stories about that. Not every farmer invited me in to their farm.
Okay, yeah, that's all right.
Like, what? No, we got work to do. But the ones that did, I got this spirit experience, almost like you mentioned it earlier, like rebirth, and this almost like spiritual awakening, to where I saw this ritual of food, just like carrots being pulled from the dirt. You know what I mean? The dirt falling down and stuff like that. And I just saw food differently, and it shows up in the food that I cook today. And like one example that I use all the time is as a young cook, and you're coming up and you're trying to find your expressive voice and your creative formula, and it was almost always protein first, and then right, fish, beef, whatever the case may be, and then vegetables would come second.
Your sides, yes.
And so now for me, it's veggies first, vegetables first. The seas, Mother Nature makes the rules, and then we kind of plug and play with our proteins. And so anyway, man, it's amazing. But also I think, like, food is energy, right? And whenever you come into a restaurant, there's this energy exchange that takes place, this human connection. And I think with what we do that hopefully sets us apart is, like, we're able to channel that energy from the farms to the dining room. And I say that because I'm not the only person braising short ribs. I'm not the only person slicing hamachi, right?
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything innovative, I don't think, or that hasn't been done before. But we do have an honor system with our community, and I think that matters.
Mm-hmm. Matters a lot. So what's your favorite season of produce to cook with from Carolinas?
It's always the next one, man.
It's always the next one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have to tell you guys. You guys have been here a long time. Like, after a long, dormant winter, spring, asparagus, sugar snap peas, we're about to make a salad out of those. It's all super exciting. But, living here in the Carolinas, I think we're blessed with an abundance of seasons and ingredients that fall in the seasons, and then sub-seasons as well, that supply us with a ton of stuff to keep us busy.
I think you're exactly right. And I think that's something that is going to allow our food and culinary scene here in Charlotte specifically, but also throughout the Carolinas. But as we're all working to grow the culinary scene, with the city, with other farmers, just the industry and everything, that bedrock of having farms so close by, and they have a long growing season, we can grow a lot of different produce. I really think that we have the potential to have one of the best restaurant scenes anywhere in the country.
We need
some water this year, but
we need water.
Yeah,
we need lots of water.
For sure. Yeah, but I don't have to. Like, you guys remember when it was like a badge of honor for a chef to get mushrooms from the Pacific Northwest and put them on the menu, have a stamp. You know what I mean? Or you know what I mean? Like you know what I mean?
Well, I feel
and now
like
everything's here.
I feel like it's gone in waves. That in the late teens, that the farm to table movement was kind of brewing, and then I don't know, about 3 years ago, we were kind of like, well, of course we're getting everything
next?
from local farms. Like we kind of stopped,
You
like,
stopped talking about it so
stopped
much.
talking about it as much because we're like, yes, we make everything homemade and we try to get whatever
Sure.
we can from local farms. But now I think we're back to, you know what, we need to keep celebrating
Especially
the farmers
and the local ones. Yeah.
and keep that rolling.
Well, part of it's, I think, probably the way you've gone about it is when you become friendly with them, when you're friends with them, when you have those relationships, those messages matter because you're supporting them and supporting their family and what they're doing, and what they're growing.
Yeah.
What are some of the most fun ingredients you're seeing coming out right now? I know you've mentioned some of those. Are any super unique ones that are new for you here in the Carolinas or that you haven't seen much of? And
Rice.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, we're seeing, those are showing up on some of the texts I get. They're growing in Indian land, actually.
Oh.
That's so close.
It is. Yeah, it is. And so that's super exciting. We're not too far from Charleston.
Yeah,
to be
different
honest with you.
varieties of rice? Or
Different varieties of rice. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. African origin. But those are really interesting to me. And then it's, I suppose it's, I think farmers are also like turning the corner on what they're willing to grow. Obviously, like in our business, like the margins are super thin. Same thing with farmers. Like they have to grow what they know they can sell, but also it's like that's a byproduct of developing some really supportive relationships. Is like, okay, cool. I know Jeff and Jamie are going to buy all my tomatoes or whatever,
Right.
and so I can try like a different variety of okra or whatever the case may be. Same thing with us. We have a lot of farmers that are like, I have this 3rd generation radicchio. Can you use it? I'm like, I'll
Yeah.
figure it out.
Yeah.
And so anyways, that's super exciting.
What you're making me think about is I don't think about farming as being a creative thing, but what you're talking about is giving them the freedom to be able to like explore new things and see how things grow and have that creativity, which is probably what drove them into it in the first place, and allowing for that creativity because chefs get that chance.
Yes.
But allowing them to.
We've been trying to get some Zoom calls together with our chefs and some farmers and just
to learn how we can better support each
just
other.
to have some dialogue of hey, maybe you do have something really, really cool.
Yeah. I mean, like, so we have 4 properties that we operate. I think it's 4. And like Isaac at Harmony Ridge Farms, we buy from him on all 4. And so he knows every Thursday night, 4 checks are going to go through, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And so when I say it's a byproduct relationship, it's also like there's some financial stability involved in that as well, which is super important.
We struggle a little bit of we've gotten, we have 6 places now. So if we decide to run a special, if you're like, hey, we have this radicchio, and you're like, okay, great, can we have 14 cases?
Sure.
Understood.
Yeah.
And,
understood.
Yeah. So and then it's like, and we're gonna need that every week for the next month.
Right.
Yeah. So that's something
that's a good problem to have, though, right?
It's great, but that's why we're trying to start these conversations with farmers of saying, hey, how are things going? How are the fields looking? Can you supply this stuff? Because we're not just gonna run it as a special. We're gonna put it on our menu for the next 3 months.
Yeah.
So just so we can get ahead of those things. So we're trying to improve that communication.
Yeah.
Yeah. So culinary scene of Charlotte, I'm sure you're experiencing the same thing we are, where there's so much more conversation around it. What do you feel like your role is in that, and how are you helping to build like that overall city growth of culinary? I know the answer.
Yeah.
I know the answer. I'm just kidding.
What role you have.
No, but what do you think? Like, do you see yourself as being a part of that?
I think of personal like responsibility. I think it lies in credibility, and being true to ourselves, and I think that leads to conversations about authenticity, and I think about the work that you guys are doing, and there's only one Supperland, right? There's only one Growlers. There's only one Restaurant Constance. There's definitely only one Gray's. Not all can be said about all the Michelin recognized restaurants in the city.
That's right.
That can't be said. There's some 1-star restaurants that you can't say that about them. And so anyway, so I think it's really, really important to hold on to our authentic voice and remember, I think, what got us to where we are. Like, the problem with success is success to me, and so I think it's really, really important to do what you have to do to stay hungry, stay unique, channel your own voice, right, and amplify that, and and just continue to work really, really hard. The whole Michelin thing was wild because
it was really fun.
It was a lot of fun. We had a good time down there, but like the whole acknowledgement thing, like that wasn't on our radar at all.
Yeah.
No.
It wasn't, and I loved that for Charlotte, and I love that we got to spend that evening down there at the stuff at the party and stuff. But I think what can happen sometimes is like you have to really remember and dig in on what got you to where you are and continue to evolve. There's still so many frontiers that I want to explore with food and service, and so anyway, so when I think about my role, like that's what I think of.
I think you're exactly right. Like I mean, when we look at the local chefs who are really pushing things forward, there are only a handful, and you're one of them. And it's fantastic, and it really matters. I know it seems strange, but we're cheering for all of those because
Same.
I really think it's just going to create a better restaurant scene. And then the people who, we have 330 people on our team. If they get tired of working at Alleluia Hall, for instance, they need somewhere to go, and so having channels like that, it creates a better scene for food people to come here. They have jobs, they have places to go, and great people to learn from, and we just create a better scene overall.
There's another big impact too of you're just kind of getting your feet wet over there at Gray's, but you're going to have a big impact on that neighborhood and community. 10 years ago was, never would have thought opening a restaurant on Plaza and what's going on. And you're kind of, getting that started, and there's going to be a whole scene over there now because of what you're doing and what you're creating over there. It is going to be a new neighborhood that people can go to, and a new food spot. And I know it's not very far away from here. We can walk there,
right.
But it will be another epicenter of awesome food in the city, and it's gonna grow from that. And I think that you don't realize it yet, but
and just
we're not that far off from you transforming
how
that.
big of a reach that is, because yes, it's your restaurant and the jobs you provide and the farms you support, but it is that community. It's people coming at housing values will rise, or people have a better neighborhood, things to walk to, or somebody who never gets a chance to go out to eat can come there, and it becomes a community space. And and then more businesses come in, and you're beginning that over there.
Yeah, that means a lot. I have had a handful of people just say thank you for revitalizing the space.
Yeah, for thinking of coming here. Yeah. People said that when we opened up Supperland, because there was a lot of people who fussed about it too.
Sure.
They were like, this is a high price point for Plaza Midwood and all this. But then we started getting notes in about thank you for not knocking down the building, and thank you for creating something special and one of a kind in the space that makes it really unique. So.
Yeah.
So what do you think, as you're a chef and an operator, are some of the biggest challenges facing restaurants right now?
Without a doubt, it's cost. Without a doubt.
Labor and food, both. Yeah. I know, and you don't want to complain about labor because it's people, but it's a lot.
That's actually one of my, signing paychecks every week. That's one of, I think
it's a great honor.
It's an honor, man. Yeah. It's an honor, and to pay people, I think, properly, that's
I think
everything.
It's one of my favorite things is when one of our employees shows up with a new car.
Sure.
And and they're like,
I was just
they're like, look at my new car. I'm like that's so awesome.
Yeah. I was just telling my business partner about that the other day. I was like, there's 6 new cars in the parking lot.
Oh, yay.
You know what I mean?
So great.
That's a sign we're doing something right.
You're doing something right. Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, and I mean, just costs in general. I mean, it's interesting, and the way we've been able to diversify the business model has allowed us to do things that I don't think a lot of restaurants, I'm not behind the curtain on you guys, but you guys are obviously really successful, are able to do to offset some of the costs, and some of the stuff that we do is contracted. And so in a restaurant like this, If it snows, we close. You know,
Right.
what you know.
Well, this one will stay open because the neighborhood.
Everybody, yeah,
But most
you gotta
of
have
them
the beer.
close, yes.
But like,
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, and then you know, if you're a restaurant like Restaurant Constance, we're open 5 days a week, and so we're not open 365 days a year.
Yes.
You know, and a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people that don't get restaurant economics. And so anyway, so whenever you lose a day like that, it hits hard. But the way we've been able to kind of design the company, or the company kind of designs itself, it's I'm along for the ride. It has allowed us to do things, supply our employees with time off, you know, a very, very, I think, a healthy wage and opportunities to express themselves creatively without burning them out. I think that's really important.
How many hours do you shoot for your sous chefs and chefs?
50, 55.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're
Yep.
we're kind of right in that same boat.
Yep.
I have found that as soon as you get over 55 hours in a week, like people are like, oh yeah, I can work 60, 70 hours. And it is just a drop.
Yeah.
And they can only do that for a week or two.
Yeah,
And-
you know, obviously it's restaurant specific, it's location specific, but there can be times where we just have to be here. We have to be there, and but there are other times where it's like we don't have to be here, so go home. You know what I mean? Like take 3 days, whatever.
Right.
And but I think that's like again, it's like one of those things. Is you mentioned as an operator, you know, that we constantly have to have our finger on the pulses, man.
I have all of our sous chefs and exec chefs. They clock in, and it's actually not for me as much as it's for them, because sometimes I see, I'm like, dude, you worked 80 hours last week. Like we need to get you
Why?
help. Like go, yeah, like what were you like go home, you know? And or you need some coaching,
Sure.
so that you're not doing this. And
Sure.
it's more
Let's unpack
protection.
that.
Yeah, it's more for protection for them. And at first they don't realize that, but then that's usually where the conversations are going. It's usually not, hey, you worked 30 hours this week. That doesn't happen.
That's right. Yeah.
So give us the details and scoop on visiting your newest restaurant, Grace Diner, hours and lunch, dinner service, because you do all day, don't you? Tell us the details.
So we open at 7. We do breakfast until 2. Close the restaurant down from 2 to 3, except for the bar. You can come in and get a drink, and then open back up at 3. Give everybody an hour to take a break, eat family meal, clean up, flip the kitchen, and then we do dinner service from 3 to 9 Sunday through Thursday, and 3 to 10 Friday and Saturday.
Okay. I love it. Well, you guys will all have to go check that out, and check out Restaurant Constance as well. Thank you so much for joining us today. It has been such a joy and a pleasure getting to talk with you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's mutual. Thank you.
Love it, man.
Thanks.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Sam is so cool. He's such a great chef. He's so on point.
He does such a great job. And I think what he's doing is he's pioneering some new ways of going about the restaurant business. He diversified in a really different way by having, events and catering, which we don't do a whole lot of. And then he does community meals and really gives back in that way.
I loved his line of where he says, well, the restaurant's designed itself.
Yes.
The business plan. He's just along for the ride. And
it sometimes feels like that, right?
Yeah, we're always maneuvering and steering the ship, but yes.
I think he doesn't give himself very much credit for what it is. He says that the restaurant's designing it himself, designing itself, but someone has to be at the helm.
He has his pole star though, and he is just so focused and has the hospitality piece and so much empathy and thoughtfulness. That's why he's so great.
Yep, and I think what he's doing, with his team, keeping a great team together and everything, and that's going to give him the ability to be able to keep growing. I mean, I don't know if he has in mind other restaurants. We should have asked him that, but we'll have him on again sometime. But I feel so proud to be a part of the culinary scene with him as part of it, too.
Yes.
There's some great chefs, and he's one of the best around. So
For sure. So lucky to have him.
Well, thank you all for listening to today's episode. We encourage you to like, comment, subscribe. We would love to hear from you. And be sure to follow along with our Fork and Hammer television series, which has launched on YouTube as well. That's launching every other week. You guys can catch it there. And we just love hearing from you, so we'll hope to hear from you soon.